DreAllDay.com.
What up, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. This week's motivation is about learning what your game is. And when I say learn what your game is, that don't necessarily got to be sports. It can be anything that you into. Because I'm thinking about the 10,000 hours rule. 10,000 hours rule, for those of you who don't know, basically says it takes 10,000 hours of intentional practice to get good at anything, to become exceptional, to know everything there is about it, to be quote-unquote an expert. 10,000 hours. So what people don't get about the 10,000 hours rule is not necessarily about developing the skills to be like what somebody else has done, or to copy somebody else's skill level, or get on the same level as somebody else who you're trying to catch or emulate or defeat. It's not really about that. The 10,000 hours that you put in, once you put in 10,000 hours, you will know exactly who you are as a person. You know exactly what your game is as whatever it is you are, an athlete, if you're a doctor, if you're a writer, whatever it is you are pursuing, you'll know exactly what your game is, exactly who you are, what you can do, what drives you, what motivates you, what gets you going, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. At the 10,000 hours, you will know all of those things. There won't be no questions left after you put in 10,000 hours. So when people are asking, yo, how should I play? How should I approach this? Or what should my mindset be when I come up to this? Like, what should I do to adjust to this? If you're asking those questions, it's because you haven't hit that 10,000 hours yet. Once you do hit it, you won't have any of those questions, because everything you need to know about you, about yourself as a person, as a blank, whatever it is you're trying to be, firefighter, basketball player, policeman, lawyer, you'll know it once you put in that 10,000, because there's no questions left about you once you put in that much time of intentional practice, of trying to get better, of intending to get better, aiming to get better at whatever your chosen pursuit is. So learn what your game is. And if you ain't at the 10,000 hours, that doesn't mean if you at 5,000 that you can't know what your game is. The purpose of putting in the work is to figure out what your game is. I talk about this all the time. People ask me questions like, yo, how should I play when I go to tryouts? Like, what skills should I try to show? Like, you got the whole situation wrong. You coming at it completely wrong. You got to know what your game is. Every time you out there working or practicing, you shouldn't be thinking about, what would this guy do, or that guy, or how can I beat this other guy? You got to be thinking about you. What is it that you do? How can you develop you? How can you figure out more about what you're capable of, what type of player you are? That's the purpose of putting in the work. It's not about emulating nobody else or trying to be a certain way to impress a certain person. You got to make you that guy by putting in the work. It's a mental work as well as the physical work. When you're doing the physical work, the mental work is a part of it. That's why you got to be mentally present when you're doing that work. You can't just be out there going through the motions, as I'm sure y'all have heard coaches say before. You got to be mentally present, so you're developing yourself mentally as well as physically when you're doing that activity and putting the work in. So hopefully that makes sense to all y'all. Work on your game, DreAllDay.com.
George, from New York, work on your game.